Welcome back. Today we have a sketchbook tour. This is my most recent sketchbook and it is filled with landscapes and sunsets and sketches of my most recent trip to Vietnam. I'm Omar, I'm an artist, illustrator and author, and I help other artists improve their skills by sharing my knowledge from filling 55 sketchbooks. So this is sketchbook number 47. It's Hannah Muller watercolor sketchbook. It's 100% cotton, and on the inside I did some swatching whilst I was in Vietnam, and we've got a series of pens really, and I was testing out neo colors and also brush pens. They were water soluble, so you get this kind of effect, and I often do this on a scrap of paper, but I was hosting a workshop in Vietnam, so I just needed something quick, and this was the most convenient thing to show them. This page here, it was a collaboration for Samantha Dion Baker's Substack, her group. She invited me on as a guest, and it was based on photos that she'd taken to a park nearby where she lives. And it was a Zoom session, and I think I finished it off during the Zoom, so we were taking turns using the same images. I think I would have done both of these in about 40 minutes, 50 minutes maybe, and they're not the best, but it was a time session, so I can live with that. Now this piece was for Landscape Art Club. I cannot remember the location. I really should have written it down at the bottom here. If you don't know about Landscape Art Club, it is a weekly thing on Instagram where people would submit images of their favourite places. I think it's slightly changed up now. This is somewhere in the Mediterranean. Beautiful sort of castles next to the sea. And my favourite part is this swimmer. He's very hard to spot, but I did see swimmers in the photo, and I deliberately left that unpainted. So that's not white paint, that is where I have painted around that person. And I think it's a lovely contrast, and I love using Payne's grey especially. It does give a lot of depth and dimension. These were, I've written down here, January 24th, Joy Jen, and she's got a Patreon. I shall give you the link on her Patreon. She releases photos that she's taken herself, and it says Abruzzo, which is in Italy, and this is based on her photos. I wanted to do like a whole month's worth, but never got round to it. It's a mixture of watercolor. If I bring this up to the camera, you can see these are little collaged houses. I don't know if you'll be able to see the edge of each. It's like little cubes here as well, and I really love doing this. It's some of this is neocolor, most of it is watercolor, and I really liked creating these contours of the hills. The poppies here is actually Posca pen. I thought it would be a little bit more vivid, but they echo the color of the roofs, so it looks like I used Posca pen for that as well. So there's a nice, your eye is able to drift around this piece because of that. Now this is a scene of Bagan. This is in Burma, and I have been there. The last time I went to Burma, it used to be the old capital of Burma, and there's pagodas just spread out on this vast plain with the Shan Mountains in the background. And if you look closely again, these are collaged. You know, even though I showed you where I painted around that guy in the sea, it's just so much easier to collage these pieces on, especially when it's quite complex like this. So there is something else I want to point out. There is actually wax resist here so that it picks up the texture of that paper. And I must have used yellow crayon, like probably a Crayola wax crayon here and also here. And I think I love the different textures that are going on in this landscape. This was another 2 images from Joy Jen. I believe they are of the Lake District. And again, I've got some of the contouring happening. I think this one's a little bit rough. This is a little bit more muted, but in this version, I really, really love the jetty here and the tiny boat in the distance to give a little sense of scale. This was an experiment. My daughter was at, it must have been a Sunday, and my daughter wanted to just do some art with me. So I said, okay, we'll do some collage. This is Mandalay Hill in Burma. It's a prominent pilgrimage site, and you can see panoramic views of the city of Mandalay and the Irrawaddy River from the top of it, and there's loads of pagodas up there and monasteries. Again, somewhere that I went to as a young girl when I lived in Burma. And so you've got pagodas at the top of the hill, and we just created a whole load of textures. I used ink and acrylic ink, and I cut out those shapes and stuck them down. And for this one, I just thought it'd be interesting to do the same scene, but use watercolor and collage. So I decided actually I preferred the watercolor version. I think this is just, it doesn't quite sort of sum up that landscape. That Mandalay is very beautiful, and this is supposed to be the river. And I got to create art with my daughter, which was a massive bonus because she's now a teenager and doesn't really want to spend too much time with me. This was a landscape art club of Arashima in Japan, Kyoto. It's the bamboo forest. Loved creating this, the whole thing. It just came together. It's on my bucket list, and I think I was really invested in this. There's a lovely texture and also contrast coming up here, going into sort of the canopy. And I had some lovely comments when I put this on Instagram, people saying it looks just like that. And I love the figures that are walking off into the distance. I think that gives it a lovely bit of context as well. Now this was Leadenhall in London. It's very near Liverpool Street. There were loads of people sketching here. This is a covered market dating back from like the 14th century. It's now filled with sort of shops, but most of them were shut. And I sat for this view, actually for both views, outside the pub, and was able to observe these arches. I am still a little bit funny about perspective. You know, the perspective isn't perfect, but I'm learning. It's not bad. I think it gives it a sense of the location. These are actually sketches. They were probably sketching me. You can see in the background, this is all textured that I created like weeks before. This wasn't something that I created when I was there. This was ready-made textures. I do have a video on that. I'm going to link it in the description below. I didn't even stay for the throwdown. I went to have lunch with my friend. And I believe this was another landscape art club. I thought at the time I was going to reserve this particular sketchbook just for landscapes. And there's some really lovely stuff going on in here. This is Acadia National Park in Maine, and it was submitted by my friend Erica. What I really loved about this was being able to capture the reflection in the water. Sometimes I can overwork it, but it looks like I stopped myself just in time. So a pat on the back for myself. And you can just see coming through there some of the textured. Now this is coming to my Vietnam sessions. Again, the textures that you see happening in the background, I would have created weeks or even months. This was maybe the first full day I was in Vietnam, and I was just relaxing. I was jet lagged, so I just painted what I saw in front of me. This was in the reception area. It was beautiful. It's a boutique hotel. I will be creating a separate video just about the Vietnam retreat. I'm going to just flit over this actually and reserve more information for later video. Oh, but I will say this was the next day. So I created these panels and I went out in the locality and I went to a cat sanctuary. I will show you the videos and what I got up to, and hopefully that will be the next video. Now, one thing I will say about this sketchbook is I do flit from landscapes to Vietnam to sunsets. So there is no rhyme or reason before anybody, you know, writes a comment, what was your reasoning for doing this? I did not have a reason. I left gaps thinking that I would fill the rest with landscapes, but it didn't work out. You know, life happens. And this, I had a one-on-one consultation with a student who wanted to paint sunsets. And I really got into it. And this was at a time when I was still recovering from COVID. And I just became a bit obsessed with them. I'm going to just skip these 2 pages and I'm going to show you the sunsets part of this sketchbook, and then we'll go back because it'll make more sense that way. So this was 25 minutes. I've written down here for all of these. So I did 4 panels, and these are just based on images that I saw probably on Unsplash. It's supposed to be the same image, and it's just different interpretations of them and how many different ways could I paint it. And I've written a note here that says the horizon needs more emphasis because I couldn't, you know, sometimes you can't see the horizon line, but I think this one is probably the most successful. And I did some more. Luckily, this 100% cotton sketchbook takes this watercolour so well, and I just wanted to create the same scene again. Like, how many different versions could I create of the same scene? I'm not sure that these wooden cabin works too well. You know, I didn't know at the time really how to get the most out of my pigments. I think this is the best one here in terms of setting the scene. And I again, the same image 2 times, and I just wanted to see what would happen. Some more sunsets, long versions, square versions. It's all really important for me just to experiment like this. We got loads here. So I'd be doing probably, you know, a page every day. I've written from Marla. These are sunsets that my daughter had taken from her bedroom window, in fact. And I'm just experimenting. I don't know that they're based on real sunsets, but I just, as you can tell, I'm really obsessed. That's why I'm creating a class. And I personally think the smaller ones were better. They're nice enough though, they're nice enough. So we're now going back to the Vietnam. So this was the first day of the workshop. I will talk more about this later. And this was the first day when we were out, sort of not staying in the villa. And I got people to, at the throwdown, to write little notes to each other, leave it on others' sketchbooks. And somebody wrote to me, I don't even know now who wrote me this. Love the detail. I recognise that I've been there. Whoever that was, you're very kind. Thank you. It was somebody in that group. So we went to a ruin and we did some value studies, and then we went on to the colour piece. This is in Vietnam, and this was the fish market. Some of this was done on the spot. I did a basic outline. I just got too hot, so then I had to use photographs. Back to Vietnam, more of the fish market, and I love the beautiful sort of vibrant yellows coming through. And the next day we went to this lovely cafe and did a demo. First of all, it was these collages. Let me bring it up to the camera and you can see that I've cut them out of toned paper, and I've even stuck some stamps there, and the receipt for my was it coffee? Oh, noodles. Coffee and noodles. But I will talk more about that in a video dedicated to Vietnam. Now we flip back to these two scenes. This is my landscape art club. I submitted some photographs of my local walk. It's on the River Lee going towards Hertford, and I painted these two as process videos for my patrons. I will give you the link to my Patreon below. And I really enjoyed that house. It's a mixture of watercolour and coloured pencil. But when it came to this canal boat, it just completely drove me bonkers. I don't do mechanical type objects, and straight lines really bothers me. So I spent a lot of time on that canal boat, but I think it paid off. At least I didn't overwork it, which was a bonus. This is another series of images from Landscape Art Club. It's a castle in Wales, and it was a live Zoom session on my Patreon. So I painted both of these in an hour. They were timed studies. I think it would have been great if I had more time, but I always like to push myself, so I used a mixture of watercolour, neocolour, and also Posca pen for those white sheep. I think the sheep are my favourite part. I think the grey was a little bit too harsh. I wish that had been a little bit lighter in value, but overall I loved creating those. I really feel like I learnt an incredible amount about colour mixing in this particular sketchbook because of the sunsets, and I've been able to take my work to a slightly different level, especially because of my experience in Vietnam. I really hope to publish that video next, so watch out for that. Thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more content like this, and leave me a comment saying which was your favourite double page spread. Also, do hit that bell icon to be notified whenever I post new videos. See you next time, and stay amazing.